in this grind as an artist, the biggest advice is learn how to do it yourself. Consistency over everything and quality over everything. If you're constantly putting out good music, good shows, the fan base will definitely come through that. I would say 50, maybe even 60% of music is business. In my mind, I'm like, if I'm making music, I need to keep going and keep growing. That's what determines success. It's like, are you gonna keep growing or are you gonna stay idle? Like, the best thing for you to do as an artist is to drop a record and start. But after starting, you need to keep the momentum.
What's up, Scott DeVore, aka Free. This is the Free Factor podcast. I got a special guest in the house, Peair. Peair, what's going on, man?
Just chilling, man. Got a show tonight.
I love the drip. You got the sticks, throwback,
Yes,
70s rock. I think they're from Chicago.
Yeah.
You got the Nike socks with the slippers. How'd you get so drippy, bro?
Young Drew.
Young Drew's sitting off camera, man. But you're in town. You got
Yes,
a show that you guys are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But why don't you tell the people who are not familiar, who is Peair?
Well, Peair is a Christian rapper. He's been doing it for a while. I love how I'm saying it in like third person. But he's just a kid that loves the Lord, wants to make good music and connect people with it, for sure.
So you've been doing it for a while, bro. You look like you're 12. So
Yeah.
What is a while?
I've been rapping ever since high school, and it was like weird because I like started secular and I was just like the SoundCloud rapper, and Drew was laughing so much right now. But no, I was I grew up like SoundCloud, like your typical dude, and then I remember I started the church, and that was like I was a new Christian, and I was like really just trying to find my faith. A friend invited me to a Wednesday night at this church called Three Circle Church, and he's my best friend still today. Shout out Grayson. But no, I remember talking to like my student youth pastor, and he was like trying to hire me as like an intern there and everything, and we were just talking, and he found my music eventually, and so it was just one of those moments where it's like, oh shoot, this guy talks about Jesus and is representing God, but then he turns around and he's talking about like sex, drugs, money, and he's not living that. So it's just like, it's funny how like that was like the spiral into conviction, into like deleting all those songs and really starting again. Like I quit music like when I was talking to him so I could be more closer to God. And I think that was the defining factor in becoming Peair now, especially in those moments where I was like, I don't think music's for me. I was like very like set on just being done and quitting and just figuring out life after that. But then I was just so invested, and music was always so therapeutic for me. I think that's why I started, because like my dad, the one I got this shirt from, he like started in a rock band and everything, and he lives in Rhode Island, but I found that love for music, like being at the bars with him when he's doing gigs and stuff, and he's still making music, he's still like in a band and everything, so it's really fun to like have that relationship and talk to him about that with the love. But definitely like the conviction sat in. I quit music, and then I just started saying like, I'm gonna make clean music, but then it kind of came into Christian rap, and I was like introduced by my youth pastor about like Lecrae and KB, and it was so naive to say like I didn't know who these people were. I didn't know what church clap was, and now I'm like all invested in it. And so it's just ever since then I've just been grinding my butt off in music and really just trying to keep going.
That's amazing, man. So was your dad your first musical influence?
Definitely. I grew up like not knowing it. Like I was a kid, and so I didn't know what was, but like music or anything. But like he played guitar and was a drummer, and he did everything. And so like it was very fun to like be around that. Like my mom hated it, but my dad loved it, and so it's just like one of those things where I grew up. And rock is one of those things too, like not a lot of people think about anymore. So it's just like, it's interesting how it's like still like a pivotal role in his life. And so it's like it's always cool to like take those inspirations and like apply it to like rap and everything. So I genuinely I love him for it, and he's definitely like played such a role in just starting in music. So
What type of was there music always playing in the background when you grew up?
definitely.
Well-
He's always like, you cannot, like, he's the type that has the guitar out, every time. And so he'll just be playing, he'll honestly just be shredding on a guitar. It could be acoustic, could be electric. Like, it did not matter. But he still does. Every time I go up there, because he's still in Rhode Island and I live in Birmingham. But, like, every time I come up there, I just see him playing, and it's the best thing ever.
Nice. So you live in Alabama,
Yes, sir.
but did you grow up in the Northeast?
I was born in Providence, but then my parents got divorced in like first grade, so I was like kind of young when I moved to Alabama.
Okay.
But I grew up in Alabama like all my life. So like I'm based in Mobile, and then now I go to school in Birmingham, and so I'm doing a music degree there in commercial music, and so I'm really like getting locked in with the industry, with like how I should be better as an artist, especially the business aspect. I think that's the most important because it's half a business. That's half the battle, for sure.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Okay,
Yeah.
man. So you say you've been in it for a while, and you're 21 years old.
Yes, sir.
When you were SoundCloud rapper,
Hmm.
you don't get the face tattoo, so
No.
that's why I guess you're a little too young.
I
Probably.
was the high school SoundCloud rapper for sure. Like I was like, I mean, I went to a private school, so what I was saying was not adding up to like my lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like I'm not any hardcore gangster rapper at all. I just love God and I love music.
When did you give your life to the Lord? I know you mentioned it was like some youth group, high school. I guess
Hmm.
things kind of changed. But what was life like before that moment? And then what was that moment that like when you actually gave your life and you became a Christian?
It was 2019. I was at this youth event with the church that I got invited to, and it was called Uprise. It was like a kid conference, and it was like a weekend trip, and you're doing all these fun things and everything. And then this artist named Phil J. I don't know if you know him or not, but he grew up in like Rapzilla, like a couple years ago. He was
Okay.
like kind of getting big in CHH. Now he does R&B, but he signed to RMG Amplify, the one we were talking about earlier. But he plays drums at my church still, and he does music full time. He just does everything with it too. But I remember he did a show. He did a show at Uprise, and I was like, "What is this?" Like he was like rapping about God and all this stuff, and I'm like so confused. I'm like, "Why is this so incredibly hard?" Like I didn't know what it was at first, but it was just like Christian rap, and right in front of my face, not knowing I would be a Christian rapper later on. But like, it was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like this weekend, like put me so on fire for the Lord. And I think at that moment I was just like, because there was an altar call at the end, and I was just like, I think I'm all for this. And I just felt very obligated to like tell somebody, hey, I want to give my life to Christ. But then I got baptized later. Like I gave my life to Christ, but I didn't get baptized until I was like a senior in high school. I just never thought about it, honestly. It was just one of those weird moments where I was like, had a conversation, and I was like, yeah, I've just never been baptized. And I was just like, but I like gave my life to Christ. So I was like one of those things where I was like, I feel like I need to do this now. And so I felt like I was like, let's do it. And so I just did it.
Yeah.
But
Was there anything that changed after you got baptized?
I was definitely on a spiritual high for sure. But like, I feel like after every spiritual high, you come down, you're like, okay, this is still living like that life. But I think it definitely like impacted my life in the direction for sure. Cause it was one of those things where I like was outwardly expressing an internal acceptance. And so with that, I think it made my peers, like my community, really aware of like where I'm at. Cause a lot of people, like I was definitely like falling into sin, and like I was, following the world for sure. And so a lot of people knew me for that. But then I was like expressing my internal acceptance, and a lot of people were like, oh shoot, he's like this now. And so it was one of those things where I was like, yeah, like I love God, I'm following him, and this is what I believe, and this is my values. So it's like one of those moments for sure, like to see a lot of people like be aware of now. So that was definitely the cool aspect of it for sure.
So I just checked out the whole album before you got here.
Really?
And yeah, so let's talk about that. This is How We Worship.
Yes, sir.
So you and Co-Side.
Hmm.
It's a beautiful blend of kind of is he Latino? Like
He's
his-
Brazilian.
Brazilian,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So he has like this. I don't even want to say like a Caribbean vibe because that's not the Caribbean, but it's like a Latinx type of vibe.
For
You, dude, when I saw you at Smoke Fest, which was like 2 weeks ago, a week ago, I don't even remember how long ago it was. And when Drew's like, "Hey man, this is Peair, this guy, music," and dude, when I saw you, I would not have thought that you're an artist,
Yeah.
especially a rap
Especially
artist.
the first day fit. The first day fit was just not an artist fit at all.
And you weren't wearing a hat. You had like the
No.
hair all whatever. But dude, you can freaking rap.
Thank you.
Like your flow, your sound
Mhm.
is so mature and professional.
Facts.
Like I am surprised that you are the same guy that I
That
saw.
sounds like that,
And
yeah.
I'm listening to your music. I'm like, there's no way, because I didn't know. Like when I started listening to the music, I just pulled up like the YouTube or whatever.
Mhm.
I didn't know who was co-side and who was you at 1st,
Mhm.
and then I saw the one video that you guys made.
Yeah.
It was like the second track.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, dude, that's Peair. That's like that's like doing that flow,
Yeah.
bro. Like you're nice, man.
Thank you.
Like really nice.
That was like also like the sound development has taken a lot of time. Like it was like I think I was a freshman in college. Now I'm a junior in college, but like I was a freshman in college and I just like landed on that like that cadence almost. Because before I was like even the SoundCloud, like I didn't know how to rap. I didn't have the confidence. I was just literally like looking at Rhyme Zone and like reading off bars. But now I'm like, oh, like flow switching and like patterns and developing choruses and bridges and like all of that. Like it's all like so second nature now, and it's like very interesting because like seeing Drew rap the way he does, and he also does like his melodic, like it's something that I'm like, oh shoot, like I could do this too, like in a different way. And so I'm like, with the album, we like the whole goal was to bridge the gap between worship and rap, and I think that was like the beautiful aspect of it. And to see like the different tracks resonate with different people has been such a like cool thing, because a lot of people would like Joy, and then a lot of people would like Die Different, depending on like what kind of genre you listen to. Like if you want more rap, then the first half of the album is for you. If you like pop, melodic, kind of like, you know, a more chiller vibe, which like girls would love. So it's like Joy, Praise You, all those kind of tracks. That was definitely for those audiences. And I think that was the whole goal, is to expand the reach for the kingdom.
Yeah. What's your favorite track on there?
See, that's the cool thing, because it like shifts. So like
They're so different.
exactly.
I love Joy. It's a fun song. I saw like the one Instagram you made with your mom and sister when
Yeah,
she first
the
heard it.
reaction.
That was a nice
Very humble.
family moment.
Yeah.
I love that song. I love the song Die Tomorrow, is it called? With
Die Different.
Die Different with Drew on there. That first song, was it called Holy?
Holy.
Yeah.
Very
I love
cinematic.
Yeah, I love how that started. I'm like listening to it. I'm like, man, there's no way that this is the same guy.
Yeah.
And then that just had me captivated the whole entire album.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to put the project together? How do
Bro.
you co-side get linked up?
This is I wish Coast was here too, because he would ramble so much about this. Shout out Coast. But it was an 8-month process, and we started in December. And I remember I was like, hey, I need to come up and we can make music for a weekend. Not like planning an album at all. It was just very like spontaneous. And we're like, all right, let's go collab. Because like we've been talking about making music forever. And I've known this guy for like 4 years of my life. And we never like dropped a song together until About Time, which was the first song we dropped. And that was like, it was crazy how like successful that song became after. But where was I getting at? Anyways, yeah, I came through in Atlanta because that's where he's based, and I was like 2 hours away. But I just remember like, let's just make something out of it. Like, let's start from scratch. And so we're like going through Splice, trying to find all these samples, and we came across, like, I think we made Holy first. Holy was the first song we made, and we were like, yeah, let's go for like a cinematic worship vibe, because I told him let's make something that's bridging the gap between worship and rap, not knowing like any album would come out of it. But we made Holy, and we're just like, dude, like, this is an introduction to something. That's what we knew. And so at first we were like, all right, we could probably make an EP and be like ready by like maybe the next 2 months. And so we made About Time and Holy within that weekend. And About Time, like we made that all in a day. And that we were up till like 4 a.m. just like finishing it. Cause like we knew that song was going to be like the first release we had. And we just wanted to be like completely locked in with it. And we were like, as soon as we heard the Splice sample, like the chorus for About Time was like, About Time, I instantly like came with that. And it was like one of those moments where I'm like, oh shoot, this is so catchy, like unintentionally. And so it's just like everything was flowing so well. Like Coast is such a great creator to work with. And so like being in the same room with him for so long was like very comfortable. And so like we were already talking about making a next one. Probably not, we're not trying to shoot for next year. I think we're going to do it like within 2 years or something. We want to sit with the next one just to like be sure it's better than the first.
Yeah.
But definitely the process was long, a lot of long drives, because I mean, I'm traveling so much now, but I love it. It's because it's all worth it to me. And I know like when I'm done with music and when I'm sitting at Heaven's Gate, I know the fruit that I got to like and the seeds I got to plant would all be worth it to me. And that's the whole mission for me. It's just like I just want to further the kingdom through music, and I think that's like this album is a staple of that almost. But definitely a long process, a lot of work, content. The amount of content we cranked out together, I can't believe it. I felt like a YouTuber half the time, you know. But the business aspect was crazy, and so we were definitely locked in with that, and we work together so well as a team. Like if it's like me doing playlisting or like, you know, just publishing or anything like that, he'll be like doing content. Like it's never like one-sided. It's always like we're working together. And like I had to help make merch for this album release party we did like a month ago, and we were just cranking it out in a day, but we did it. And so I'm really proud of for how we work hard together, and like our relationship itself brought us so closer, because like it's like you're married to somebody if you're making an album. And so like we just brought each other into each other's lives and just kept growing and kept going. And I call him every day. Like he's literally a brother to me. So I know. I just wish he was here right now. He'd definitely love this moment.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital. We are a multi-service construction, real estate, and development company. We do services from ground-up development to roofing services to real estate transactions. Reach out to us at 844-4DeVore or at the website link below.
Nice. So you're obviously a white guy.
Yeah.
You know, you break the mold, you know, being a white guy in Christian hip hop. Obviously, it's not the most unique thing. There's a lot of people who are like crushing it, Holvey, Forrest, like these guys. But any unique experiences that you get, and the reason my question is kind of from, I love these videos you guys have been making, asking people to listen to it, especially like you know, the older black guys, and like they're kind of giving you a look.
Yes.
And then they listen to the song,
Yeah.
and you can see just how impressed, like how they're rocking with it. Any other unique experiences that you've dealt with?
I think my entire life, like being a rapper, like it's always like the image. And like I mean I catch crap from like Drew and Gavin about it, especially at Smoke, because it's like I don't look like a rapper. Like what you said, I just don't look like a rapper, and that's just how I always dressed. Like I grew up dressing like that. I just happen to rap, and so it's like it's very interesting now, because I'm thinking more of like, okay, am I looking like a rapper? Am I like putting myself together to like promote this image of who I am? And so I'm thinking about it, and it's so unique because like I remember being at Camp Anderson with Drew and Dion, and like I'm wearing regular clothes until I'm on stage. And so it's just like, it's interesting because all the campers didn't know who I was. Like they didn't know until I hit the stage, and they were like, oh, this is Peair. This is so cool. Like he's a rapper, but I don't look like a rapper. And so it's always like an interesting, I don't want to say misconception, but it's always like, I surprise people because I never looked the part. And it's almost like, I don't know. I guess when you read the book, like never judge a book by its cover, I guess, maybe. I don't know how to put it in words, but it's more like it's so easy to surprise people because I never looked the part. But I'm also trying to like get to the point to like look the part so people like see I'm a rapper and like, oh, he's a rapper. Like that's cool. Like
yeah, the word that comes to mind is unassuming. And I've been given that label. I remember when someone said that to me, it's like, man, you're so unassuming, because I tell them I used to play basketball, play a little bit of college, tell them I used to DJ. Now I'm kind of wearing a hat and stuff today. I'm not like, you know, when I was a corporate guy, you know, not that I was wearing suits every day, but I kind of looked more like, you know, just any other corporate person. Yeah. And I would share these stories. Like I grew up in the projects, you know, I was a kid. I used to get in fights all the time. And like, people are like, man, that's unassuming to think that of you and your past, because you don't look the part. Yeah. And I think that about you. I think of that word as you're describing yourself. So it can be used to your advantage, right? And the thing is, like, I've been having this conversation with a few people where, you know, you think about like why, like the people who are really like ascending so much in Christian hip hop, like Holvey, Forrest, like I said, these white guys, and they're telling these stories that are like extremely relatable to, you know, like the Caucasian youth, right? Because not everyone relates to like someone who listens to like Jay-Z lyrics or Kendrick or whatever, because they just didn't grow up in South Central LA, had to deal with gangs. Even though they love the music, like it's a great, you know, it's great art, but relatability, they're not dealing with the same things. Issues. Where someone like, you know, again, I haven't listened to your full catalog, but if I think about some of these other guys who are just extremely they're just extremely relatable.
Mhm.
Like they're talking about, you know, like the struggles of not feeling enough. Does God really care about them?
Mhm.
Depression, and the youth is connecting with that message
Yeah.
a lot more than
Especially
the
our generation, like
yeah.
Gen Z and everything. Like I think depression is such a like it's scary how leading it is. Because I'll say social media comparison, it's such a thief of joy. And I think that's like the one thing that if our generation could get rid of, it'd be that. It'd just be like social media as a whole. And like, I hate to say that because I use it so much and it's a prominent, like, promotional figure because everyone keeps their eyes on that. But like, Yaki set a bar. I think it was in the song. It's called "Pray for Peace" off of. I'm promoting their album like unintentionally, but
I
Jesus
love
wept.
Yaki. Yeah,
But
dude.
Yaki, shout out Yaki. But he said this bar and he was talking about how it was like he was staring at a television, but the television is like more of Satan staring at the youth. And so it's just like, it really resonated with me because I'm like, that's literally social media. It's literally any media outlet that's like just promoting all these negative things and comparison. And like, I hate how like even nudity, like there's so much like nudity on the internet, and it's just like it's so hard for people to get rid of that because people struggle with lust, and like it's a prominent thing that as a Christian you struggle with. And so like definitely, if it's one thing, I social media is just it's a love-hate relationship because you have to be a part of it, I think, as an independent artist.
Right.
But like, it's a gamble.
What's your message to the youth for those who are struggling with their faith or identity? What would you tell them?
God loves you. That sounds very simple, straightforward, but I think like a lot of people don't realize they're loved. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think love plays such a part in someone's life. And I don't want to be cheesy or corny with this, but I think it's like such a genuine thing that if you feel loved by God, the one who created you, and I think that's the reasons because God loved us so much that he created us. He sent his own son to go and die for us on the cross, a gruesome death, and then have that son rise again to not let the sins that we commit define us. I think that's the staple of love. And if someone can realize that, someone who's struggling with depression or doesn't know God, I think if someone could realize that and find it in their hearts and believe that, it's so hard to take away someone's joy. Not saying you're not going to struggle, but if you live by that, like that's the epitome of happiness. That's the epitome of someone's joy. And I think that's what someone should know.
Yeah.
For
Amen.
sure.
Man, I love that because I got big goals. I'm trying to take over the world as an entrepreneur in
Mhm.
business. Recently, in the last year or so, I've been
Mhm.
getting, more involved in Christian hip hop and music and just going in all these directions. Some days I'm feeling myself feeling good. Other
Yeah.
days I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna am I gonna run out of money? I'm gonna go bankrupt, all these
Facts.
crazy ideas. But at the end of the day, man, I just know that God loves me. So
Mhm.
whether I kill it and I'm going to become this great entrepreneur walking like, shoulder to shoulder with like Elon Musk or whatever,
Mhm.
or if I just, flame out here in Jacksonville, Florida with what
Mhm.
I'm trying to do, with
Facts.
my businesses, but I still know God loves
Yeah.
me.
Even with the bad days, it's like it's very like reassuring to know God has that plan for you because he loves you. Everything is built on love with God. And so like the plan of God, like saying, "Oh, I'm going to be a Christian rapper, you're going to be an entrepreneur," like God has a plan for you within that if he's the center of your life. And I think that's the coolest thing. It's like very reassuring to me, and I see the signs in my life and music to know that it's reassuring because of the people he's put me with, like the opportunities I'm given, like this podcast, the show tonight. Like I know God is moving through that, so that's why I feel so reassured of like this music thing. It's same for you with your entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. I usually talk about two main prayers, but there's an extra one. So it's always pray for discernment and always pray for wisdom, and kind of related to that, always pray for I'm in right alignment.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I have these crazy things I want to do, but I'm always praying, Lord, I pray it's your will, not mine. Because I know where I want to be, and I just want to make sure I'm following your will and not it's my own selfish ambition of why I'm seeking this.
Definitely.
And just that's been my prayer for years, and it keeps me humble.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you don't know if you're getting the right answer. It's only when you can look back like, after some time has passed, like, okay, yeah, I see where God has directed the steps, and he kind of opened the door. He created this lane for me to take. He made me pivot in this direction. I love your heart, man.
Thank you.
Let's talk about building a fan base. It's tough because there's so many options out there. You're an independent artist, right? You're not signed with anybody,
signed with
right
anybody.
now.
If you're watching this, any major labels, and you're trying to take a chance on the kid, hit my line. But yeah, unsigned, independent, fully independent, love being independent.
What is your mindset? Like, how are you building your fan base? Like, what are you doing to get the name out there, get the music? Obviously you want people to hear it.
Definitely.
You're doing it because, God put in your heart to make this music. It's helping the kids, helping, whoever people are listening to it. Social media, obviously a lot of things, but like, what's your process?
I have a lot of conversations with a lot of artists. Christian hip hop may not, like, I have a lot of friends that I do folk, shout out local, but or country music or just singer songwriter. Like, I talk to everybody about any genre, like, because it's all the same business aspect, honestly. But when it comes to business, it is mostly, I would say 50, maybe even 60% of music is business, because like making the song is just 1% of it. Like, obviously, if you can drop a song, but who's gonna care? Like, that's the thing. It's like with a fan base, people have to care enough to listen to you, and I think that's the whole point of it. And so, like, with Christian hip hop, the whole aspect is like, oh, I love God, and if you love God, you may like this. But that's also like, you can shift that, saying like, if you don't know God, then you may like this. It can also be disguised into the secular world. Like Forrest Frank, like, made Up with Connor Price, and that was like, I love how that's like a Christian song, but it snuck into the secular world, and people didn't realize that. Like, TikTok took it away, and I love how that, like, the kingdom is being pushed forward through the secular world. And I think that's even like Miles Minnick collabing with like La Russell. Like, I saw that and I was very interested, even though he wasn't explicitly talking about God in that song, or maybe he did. I don't remember the lyrics for sure, but I remember like it was definitely leaning toward the secular world. But the fact that his image was there, I think that was very prominent, and I think that was cool. But I think also the aspect of the business is like consistency over everything and quality over everything. If you're constantly putting out good music, good shows, like entertainment, then yes, the fan base will definitely come through that. But like, it does, like, especially as an independent artist, when there's no one there to help you. Like, I remember like Drew was telling me like, hey, we need to like make background images for the show tonight. And so I'm sitting in my room like on CapCut trying to figure out, okay, I got to make like these background images. I've never done it before. And so I'm like loading up all the songs, typing them, like the lyrics, trying to make it look cool. And I'm like, dang, like, this is one thing I never thought I'd be doing as an artist. So it's like you find these new things that you need to learn in order to have success, like for shows and for anything. And so like with that, like you really start learning. You start picking up everything. Even as an entrepreneur, like you end up doing a lot of it because you want to be in control, especially without any team or management. You have to figure out how to be a business. You have to be your own label. And I think, especially like with my degree right now with commercial music, I've been learning a lot with that. And also just the experience, like I've been able to like figure out playlisting. So like that helps me like get on playlists and everything like that. Also just like reaching out to like Christian platforms like Spiritual Lemonade, Proper XL, Rapzilla, all that stuff. Like the fact that you can get on those platforms and be exposed, that's what labels would do for you. So like being able to do it all yourself is definitely like the biggest grind. And so with Christian hip hop, I figured out a way to really like be invested in that. And so that's mostly the game of it. It's just figuring out where you need to be. And even like social media, like I have a TikTok account that I've been grinding every day consistently. And I've gotten to the point where I've organically gained like, I think it was like 250 followers. And that's like not a big number, obviously, but like for me to do it for like 6 months, 5 months maybe so far, that I'm just like constantly grinding. I know for a fact that I have 250 people that found me on TikTok organically. And I think that's the blessing, like to have that much number just from just my music. Like I'd never posted any other video without like my music in it. So it's just like, I think with that was definitely the blessing. And so like definitely a consistent grind. Like you're waking up every day thinking about what your next post is going to be. And I think that's the joy in it. Also collaborating, like features definitely make a help. Like just working with people, I think because you're conjoining two fan bases into one. And like that's what Coast and I did very successfully in like inviting these people on, trying to just continue to collab. Like we had a producer of Die Different. Drew forgot his name last time when he did this interview. His name's Idigo. Shout out Owen. But he's you met him. But he produced Die Different, and he helped with Rise, and then How Far We Came with Dion. I'm trying to think. And then we have more music in the works with him. But he's been like killing it on the production. Like he's been really grinding it and like trying to like make a name for himself in CHH. And because it's like a producer and a rapper, night and day difference. Like if you're producing tracks, a lot of people need those tracks because a lot of people don't know how to produce. Like I'm still learning. Like I'm not like a perfect producer by any means, but like when it comes to Idigo, like he knows what he's doing. And so like I'm really proud of him because we met in college, ironically. And so like the fact that I got to bring those two worlds together was such a beautiful thing. But like he's just been grinding it. I've been helping him, and it's just like social media, a lot of connection, collaboration, and it's just honestly the people you know, like the people you meet, those make a difference in your career. And I think with all that in between, that's how your fan base will grow. And so there's a lot of factors that go into it. Some could say that's a free factor.
There you go. Love it. Dropping
Drew's
bars.
looking at me with disappointment right now. But yeah, it's definitely a grind nonetheless, but it's worth it.
I am Will with DCRE, DeVore Capital Real Estate. We want to help you with your buying and selling real estate transactions. We know in the economy and the market that we have today, everybody is telling you that it is impossible to buy or to sell. We know that we can get the deal done. Give us a call at 844-4DeVore or hit the link below. Have a great day.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I'm 45. So I was born before the internet became a main thing. I was born, then social media came in the early 2000s. I was an early adopter of it. Like I jumped on MySpace and Facebook. That's probably before you were born. So you're 21. Where were you born? Like 2003?
2002.
2002, yeah. So before you were born.
Why are you laughing?
And I kind of got away from social media, like, because I only used it for personal stuff. Like I was, sharing pictures of my wife and my kids. And then for like the last 15 years, I kind of got off of it because I'm like, what's the use? But then people figured out, 10 years ago, those who were entrepreneurs or creators, how to kind of tap into it to build their audience. And I didn't understand that. Like I should have been doing that, but I'm like, you know what? I'm so tired of it. Like this is just, a waste of time. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago I had to jump back. I'm like, oh my goodness, like for me to really get to where I need to go, I need to really dive into social media. I need to make content. So I've been like kind of way behind where I should have been. And it is so hard to get audience, to get numbers, to get followers. And, from coming from an entrepreneur's perspective, I'm sure it's the same that you deal with being an artist. But then there's those who just like completely like blow up overnight. And I don't know what it is. I'm not sure what the hack is or the secret. I'm looking for it. I like to know it if someone could tell me. But
where's the blueprints?
but the most like path that people follow is going to be the grind. You're going to put in the work, and eventually something's going to catch on. And when that catches on, then they'll look back in history and they'll see this full catalog of great music, great things that you've done. And then, hopefully if you're able to continue and not quit, then it's gonna, it's gonna be what you need for us, for people to like really figure it out or to discover you, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I want to make one more point, because I remember like they just popped in my brain when you were talking, but I think consistency, not just with social media, but consistency with your music. Like, how often are you dropping? There's a lot of artists that I've met, co-side, that has a lot of music in their vault, but don't release their music. And it's like something I've struggled with for a while too, but now I think I'm at a point where like I'm challenging myself to release like twice a month for the rest of the year. Like I'm gonna try to do that, especially after this album. And I love how the album's resonating, but it's just the fact that I know for me, music is just gonna come and go. And so like a song to me is going to last like 2 weeks for people, especially a single. I think an album's different, but I think a single usually lasts 2 weeks of like the momentum for it. So I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, okay, I can just keep releasing, keep throwing these bullets at the dartboard and see which one's gonna hit, which one's gonna flop, and just keep going with that process. And I think as an artist, that's where you find your growth, even in your sound, in your development. But like if you can keep making those records, like then that's successful for you. Like you can keep building off of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you are independent, but you were actually signed to a label, right?
Yeah.
Briefly.
If you want to call it a label, you can.
You want to talk about that story? Sound Out Music.
Sound Out.
Sold out.
Sold out. Yeah, it's a very.
That's
a story. I will say I'm very blessed for most of the people I met. I mean, I met Coastside, I met Drew, I met Woods through them, and like they have been such a great. Even Christian, shout out Christian. I completely forgot, but like a lot of people I've met through Sold Out was definitely the biggest blessing from it. Even though there was supposed to be there was a lot of false promise. I feel like there was a lot of false promise expectations that were never met. And so like when people say it's a label, it felt like more of a music group, if you should say. Very like lacking the professionality. Is that a word? Professionality? Did I make that up?
No, I don't know.
I don't know.
Sure. That's Drew. Drew's the dictionary.
He's the rapper. He'll know. But
that's not a word.
Yeah.
We'll go with it.
But
professionalism.
Yeah, professionalism, sure. Yeah. It was just lacking a lot of that. And so it was just like it got to the point where it felt like we were all very stationary in like our careers, and I hated it. I hated being idle. I knew in my mind, I'm like, if I'm making music, I need to keep growing and keep growing. And I think that's what determines success. Is like, are you going to keep growing or are you going to stay idle? And I think that was one of those things that really set me back, especially from where I found my sound. I knew what I was doing. I was developing more and more, and it definitely grew me. But I felt like I was sitting in these meetings being told that, oh, we're going to be like the biggest thing in CHH. Like people are going to hear our names and all of that. And it was just like, it was very frustrating because it was never, okay, what's next? It was more of just like, oh, we're going to be the biggest. It was never like, okay, we're going to post this today and then drop this song next month, have a music video here. It was never that. And I think that was like the night and day difference. And Coast and I were having a lot of conversations about it just because like we didn't know what was the right thing to do. And I think like the one thing I can tell an artist, the one thing I learned from that is that people are never going to do the work for you. So that's why, like, unless you're like a hit maker and you're blowing up, like, especially like in this grind as an artist, the biggest advice is to learn how to do it yourself.
Right. And
that's going to be the defining factor. Or if you can't do it yourself, find someone who can do it for you. And that costs money. Everything I swear has a cost. And I think knowledge is power. And I think that's what you need to be as an artist, as an entrepreneur, as anybody in a business. I think if you can figure out how to do it yourself or hire people to do it, then you're all game. But with Sold Out, like that was definitely the downfall of that. And so that's where we all kind of like ended up parting ways. I wish it was sooner than later, but it was, I invested a little bit too much to the point where I was like, okay, I was there for like a year, I think. And so I was just like, this is enough. And so I was like, I knew in my heart, I was like, it's time to go. But
did you lose any of your music, any rights to anything, or you got everything that you created?
I didn't really lose necessarily rights. There was just songs I released with Sold Out that got taken down after the label, or if you want to call it a label. It's weird to call it a label. It felt like it wasn't. Show Scott what you were just doing.
Jeez.
Him at the concert. But no, I didn't lose anything. I just had like a song that was with Sold Out that got deleted. But like music is music. I didn't make anything from it.
Yeah. But like you said, so much good came from it. All those relationships that
definitely
you built,
relationships,
and just learning the I'm sure you got some insights of some things. I don't know anything about them. They had a big vision. I love people with big visions, but they just weren't ready to. They didn't have the infrastructure in place.
I love people who dream big for sure. But if you're not going to put any work in that faith, then why tell me the dream? You know what I mean? Like I think that's the one thing that really like frustrates me as an artist. As I feel like I'm also an entrepreneur at this point. I feel like as an artist you are a
You have to
business.
be.
Yeah, you move as your own business. That's the difference between like a hobby and like a job, you know? And so like moving as a job is like very like interesting to see now. But as an entrepreneur, as an artist, you definitely have to like dream big for sure, because that's where the creativity comes from. But you have to put in the work for that, and that's what we didn't do in Sold Out. Like there was no like work. It was more of just like the false expectation of what you think you're gonna have. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah, artist, you're your brand, you're an entrepreneur, but think of all the things that you've learned. Like now you're making your background and for
Mhm.
your videos, you be learning to become a producer.
Mhm.
Like you said, you have to learn how to do all that, yourself. Because rarely does somebody who's just uber talented, everyone brings everything and they just show up as a talent and they're just
Exactly.
gonna lay out their bars.
Mhm.
Eventually, some people do get there,
Mhm.
but even those who even become bigger household names, because they control all of it, it's so authentic to
Yeah.
who they are, and it's more of a beautiful piece of art, in my opinion.
Definitely.
But man, I love the grind that you're putting in. Who
Thank
who would you want to work with the most? I know you've worked with a lot of names that you're throwing out there, man. I know Dion, I know obviously Drew, Gavin, and these guys. But who's a name out there in well, it doesn't even have to be Christian hip hop that you would love to collaborate with?
Oh, I want to do like something that's reasonable, like sustainable, like something I can actually achieve soon than later. Like a dream feature would, like I would love to be on a song with like Jay Monty. I feel like I'd get cooked on the song though, because his lyricism is crazy. But like I know Jay Monty, like that's a big dream though. But I just know like I love his music. I'm a huge fan of it. I definitely would love to rock with that. Someone else. I'm trying to think. A lot of good names, a lot of good people in the space. Someone I think like would match like a song with me. I'm looking for like a response. Who do you think? Drew, who do you think?
Reasonable?
Reasonable, that's like that would match. What do you think is fitting?
Maybe like a able feature.
Abel? Yo, shout out Abel. Great conversation. Okay, I want to say something about Abel real quick, just because like I met him at Smoke. He probably has no idea who I am, but that's okay. Still respect. But we had this conversation, and you can tell when someone's like truly on fire for God, and it just felt like every time we would talk about music, it always led to God, and I think that was the coolest thing. And seeing someone, especially in the CHH space, like so on fire for God, really was like inspiring. And I think that was the one thing that was just like, dang, like to see that in this event, in this atmosphere, definitely like left me like feeling very like reassured of the space, because I know there's a lot of people in the space that move shady, doing it for money and all that. But seeing Abel, like you can tell that man was like really built on Christ, and I think that was really cool. So yeah, like I think Abel would be definitely a sick feature, or just anything like that. But yeah, J Monty or Abel for sure. I think those would go crazy for
Nice, man.
sure.
Let's make it happen. Let's reach
Yeah.
out.
The facts.
What's your thoughts on the future of Christian hip hop? Where do you
I
think it's
think
going? Do you think it's going in the right direction? You
Mm.
feel like, obviously there was like the golden age from like 10 years ago.
Mhm.
Now we're in like this new age.
Definitely.
People are actually making money now. People are collaborating. There's more stuff getting
Mhm.
caught on by mainstream. Some of these, video games are getting a lot of Christian hip hop,
Madden,
featured on
yeah.
there. Some people are really kind of stepping up where people actually are making it a career and they don't have to work 5 jobs to support. Obviously, that's not everyone's story, but there's people who have broke the mold.
Mhm.
I've been a fan for over 10 years now.
Mhm.
I grew up I was born in the late 70s, and the 90s was like my era. It
Mhm.
was like Biggie, anything that was Bad Boy, Wu-Tang, Nas, Jay-Z, all that was like the classic. To
Mhm.
me, that was my golden era of hip hop. And then I stopped listening to hip hop for like 10 years. I stopped listening to rap music altogether when I became saved.
Mhm.
And then about 10 years ago, when I discovered Christian hip hop, heard a Lecrae song with Molly Music, Tell the World, like, whoa, what is this song? It's like, it's like, it sounds good. It's rap, it's Christian. And so a little over 10 years now, I've been on this journey, and I've seen it change a lot in just the 10 years I've been listening to it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's now at a place, I feel like it's definitely on the up and up.
Mhm.
What's your outlook on where Christian hip hop is right now?
No Big Deal put it in the best words possible. I think he did a podcast, but it's definitely been, in my opinion, the best place it's ever been. And I think it's going to keep going into that lane. I think we had such a stigma of like Christian hip hop being corny for such a long time. And there was a reality of it being corny, but there was also like the stigma of it that we had to fight for so long, it felt like. And so I think now, like, especially seeing like a lot of the tracks going into the mainstream with like Forrest Frank, Hovey, Lecrae, all these songs, I think it's put us more on the map for sure. It's definitely interesting to like have those conversations with people who don't know what Christian hip hop is. Like when people say CHH, so I have had people ask me what is CHH, because like people don't know. A lot of people don't, and so it's like very interesting to have those conversations, especially like when you like don't realize someone knows what CHH is, and then you realize they do, and so you're like you have that like little connection. It's such a community, and I think it's such a beautiful thing, especially like being in Alabama. Like Nashville is definitely the place to be, Florida definitely the place to be. Even Atlanta, there's a lot of good places to be, but like being in Birmingham, Alabama, like that is definitely not the capital of CHH. Like that's definitely more like your country and everything like that. So it's very interesting when you find those people who love those Christian hip hop records. And so I'm like, oh shoot, but it's definitely been in the best place that I've seen. And I can't wait to see where it goes, especially with like all these younger artists like Bats, Aaron Dews, and just seeing them where they go, and then more people to come into the space. I'm excited to see the new faces that come on the scene. But it's been such a great ride so far, and I can't wait to keep seeing where it goes for sure.
I'm Scott DeVore with DeVore Capital Contracting, multi-service licensed construction company. We are a certified roofing and general contractor. We do everything from residential to commercial roofing and all other construction services. If you are a homeowner or a commercial building owner and you have any roofing needs, from repairs to replacements to tarping, please reach out to us at 844-4DeVore or at the link below.
Yeah, I love seeing the new faces, man. Just the people who love the Lord. They can spit some bars, but someone who, say, a young person who wants to get into Christian hip hop, like if you could lay out the process for them on how to get started, how to, start making music, what will your advice be to them?
Somebody told me this in one of my classes. It was a professor, and I think it was theory or something. I was in a theory class. Hate theory class, by the way. Feel like as a rapper you don't need to know it, but I'm learning it. So it's just funny. But I was in a theory class, and somebody asked, like, it was just one of those like Q&A days, I guess, and we were just asking, like, as an artist, like, how would you start your career? And the professor turned around, he's like, just start. It's such a simple answer, but it has so much substance in it, because it's like, as an artist, you don't want to just keep planning, keep like doing all the stuff behind the scenes, how these records built up, but then you never drop. Like the best thing for you to do as an artist is to drop a record and start. But after starting, you need to keep the momentum. So like start the career now, make the mistakes now, and as you get bigger and bigger, you'll learn. That's literally what it is trial and error. Like I have so much time I've spent just wasted, but I've learned so much from that just to get to those points where I'm like, I can make a record, drop it, have a rollout with it, and see success. And I think that's what benefits the most. It's just having the consistency and then starting. So definitely like get on the high horse with it and get going. That's the best advice I can give. Don't hold back. Don't say I can't do it. Don't say, oh, it's gonna sound bad. It may sound bad, but do it. Drop it. People need more music. There's probably, I looked at the statistic, but I think it's like 100,000 songs get released every single day. Every single day. And so like the fact that many people are dropping that many songs a day, you might as well be one of them. You might as well start the song, because who knows what song is going to get picked up and what song doesn't, It's just a matter of the consistency. It's a matter of the grind, and it's a matter of your work ethic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sounds simple, and it's also profound. It really is just starting. And whether you're an artist who wants to make music and drop, or if you're an entrepreneur and you got a business idea, you want to go. It's actually scientific. It's called the MVP process, minimum viable product. And there's a build, measure, learn. So you drop it, you put the product out there,
Mm-hmm.
because then it will probably suck and probably really bad.
Especially
But
if
you-
it's your first record.
Yeah, but you won't be able to. But when you do it, then you build it,
Yeah.
then you can measure it, and then you can learn from it,
Mhm.
and then it's just this process. It's a loop. It's just a continuous loop that you keep learning from it and you keep doing it.
Definitely.
And that's all it is. And that's just like I said, it's science, and it relates to everything. But like I seen this meme where it's like it showed like this graph of like it goes like this, and it was like you have an idea but you're not starting yet, but then you've got all this fear and anxiety, but then once you start, then all that fear and anxiety kind of
Exactly.
goes away.
It's like literally like a basketball game. You will relate because we both play basketball, but like you get the pregame jitters until the tip off, then you're locked in. You get the tunnel vision of the game, and you're like, okay, I can do this. You know, it's literally just pregame jitters, and I think that's what it is. So just start, get it over with, and get going. That's it.
Awesome. Peair, this has been great, man. What's your parting words as we wrap up the Free Factor podcast?
Shout out Free Factor.
Shout out
Shout out Scott.
best podcast
Best podcast.
in Jacksonville. I was gonna say the world, but that may not have been true.
Yes.
That may have been
We're
false-
dreaming big
false
here.
info.
We're going crazy in Jax. No, thank you for having me for sure. If it's anything, support the music, support the artistry. Have a show tonight if you're in town. You're not going to see this because the show will probably happen before this.
Yeah,
gets
we're gonna put this
posted.
out in like 7 months. So,
Yeah, facts.
Maybe the next show. Next time you come back out.
Next time. But stream the album, stream Peair, stream This Is How We Worship by Cosada and Peair. More music to come. Not stopping yet. Praise God.
Awesome, man. There you have it. Free Factor Podcast with Peair. Where can they find you on the socials? What's your handles?
Peair Music, simple.
Peair.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I didn't even ask you. Where did Peair come from?
Oh, this is a story.
Because it sounds French.
It's a
Peair.
yeah.
And my last name's French, right?
Yeah. So
give me
my
the
last name, so my government, I don't want to say my government name, but my name's not even Peair. My name is Jackson. And so it's funny to say Peair, but like, it's just one of those things where I looked at my last name, and my last name is Peair. And so I was like, this is when I had the conversation with my dad, who inspired me so much in music. But I remember just talking to him, and I'm like, Dad, like, I want to be an artist. I want to do this. And I think like music is so therapeutic. And so I was in Rhode Island, and I was flying back from Rhode Island, and I was in an airplane. And this is when I wrote my first song ever too. And it was just terrible, very bad. I did it I had a crayon and a piece of paper. I didn't have a phone at the time. I was too young. My sister had the phone. It was like a flip phone or something. It was like, or maybe a BlackBerry. I think it was a BlackBerry. It was like the one typing keyboard thing. But we were super young, and I mean, I didn't have anything except a piece of paper and just, I guess, a basic point of knowledge. But then I just knew, like, oh, I need to have an artist name. And so I was like, Jackson would not work. Like, I couldn't use my name as an artist name. I just think it's kind of stupid. But like, I wrote out my last name, and my last name spelled Lepere. And so I took off the Le, and I had Pere. And I was just like, I don't know. It was like kind of ironic because I was in an airplane. And so I thought like, oh, Peair. And that's how it happened.
It's fire, man.
Very simple, but it was just like, I saw it and very visually. I saw it with the vision, and I was just like, this looks cool. And so I just went for it.
Nah, man. I love it. It's
Yes,
unique,
sir.
man. It's you, and
Thank
you've
you.
made it your own.
Thank you.
Awesome, man. Well, here you have it, man. You hear the origins of Peair, Free Factor Podcast. Check out the album.
Please.
This Is How We Worship. It's phenomenal.
Thank
Like
you.
I said, man, when I listened to it, I'm like, it was 100 million times better than what I thought it was going to be.
Thank you.
You got a smooth voice, man.
Thank you.
You can rap. Check it out. Like, comment, subscribe. Free Factor. Peace.
Sir.
Real interviews, real guests, no actors. Real talk, get prepared for Free Factor.